Hey, Dethroners. Welcome back to the Dethroning Your Inner Critic YouTube channel. I'm Joanna Kleinman, psychotherapist, creator of the Mind Method, and your guide to rewiring your mind and rising into your authentic self. So today I want to take you on a journey, one that I have lived through, one I continue to walk every day, and one that I've witnessed in countless other people. So let me start by saying I used to believe so deeply in this that I'm about to share with you that I didn't even realize that it was running my life. And that is the belief that once something happens, then I'll be happy. So once I get my private practice going, then I'll be happy. And I did, and it was good. But then I needed to write my book, and then I'll really be happy. And then I did. And then I created my programs, and then maybe I'll be able to relax. So here's what I found, and maybe it's something that you've started noticing too in your life. Even when I got all those things that I thought would make me happy, that happiness was fleeting. And what was worse was I lived in constant fear of losing what I had. So I had to chase the next thing and then the next and the next. And that was not just me, it was everywhere in my clients, in my friends, in people I considered to be successful by every metric. They were stuck in that same loop, striving, achieving, fearing, repeating. And so, one of the most profound awakenings of my life is to see that as a pattern. That's actually what started all of the work that I do with the mind method, because that chasing never stops until we learn to stop it. So flipping the script and living from a new truth, which is when I'm happy, things happen. Now, let me be clear. I'm not talking about superficial, Instagram filtered kind of happy. I mean the kind of deep okayness that comes from being fully present with all of myself. So, with my pain and with my shame and with the parts of me that I used to run from, like my anger or my mistakes or my failures or my fear. And so that practice, being okay with every part of me, is what changed everything. And it's the premise of what I do in the world. Because we chase because we have what I call your inner critic self that has convinced you for pretty much almost your whole life that in order to be okay, you need certain things. And so when I stopped chasing what my inner critic said I needed in order to be okay, that is when the universe aligned and began to bring me opportunities and miracles that I could have never seen or predicted or planned if my life depended on it. So we know that we need to learn a different way to live other than just that constant striving and grinding and chasing of money and success and things. We know that's destructive. And yet we're terrified to allow ourselves to do the deep inner work of really sitting with our shame and pain. We're afraid, maybe we're afraid, we'll never get out of it. It'll consume us if we let ourselves go all the way to the edge and face it. Now, why is that so scary? So maybe ask yourself right now, what would happen if you just let yourself sit with all of that, maybe for a couple of hours? Okay. Now, I can tell you why it feels so terrifying, because it all started when we were really young and we learned to become who we thought we needed to be that would allow us to be loved and accepted and valued. And here's the thing, for a while, it really worked. Okay. It was this winning strategy that made us feel valued. Maybe first, if we had the right grades or the right friends or the right popularity status in school, or you went to the right college or the right level of success or the right level of money or things or the right level of people's respect and admiration. And for a long time, you never had to look at this winning strategy because you were lost in what I call your inner critic's external addictions that distracted you from your pain. But now, what I hope you're waking up to is that none of this winning strategy is you. It's an invented identity that you've thought was you for a really long time. And I hope that you're now seeing that this old identity is all built on fear. We created the identity very unconsciously so we wouldn't get hurt. If I'm the smart one, I'll always feel good enough. If I'm the quiet one, my heart can't get hurt again. So, what might be happening right now is you're finally waking up to these patterns and you're starting to see that you've been identifying with a false idea of you. And that's a terrifying feeling too, because if you're not who you've always thought you were, then who are you really? Right? So that's the space in between when you make it your work to just observe that old identity, to just sit, to listen to what it says, to see the patterns, to observe the addictions. You start to see the space in between. You start to no longer identify with that old you that was lost in the proving and the striving and the running away from shame. So you're witnessing all of the addictions to achievement, or I'm going to make something happen, or I'm going to make so much money, or I have to find the right relationship to make me happy. And now time is moving more quickly and we're losing our ability to find anything outside of ourselves that's going to make us feel the way that we've been longing to feel. So the more that you do inner work, that's about going inward, meditating, listening to the quiet wisdom inside of you. Okay. Because your connection to God and the universe comes from within you. And allowing yourself to finally hear the quiet whisper. That's that's divine guidance, that quiet whisper that says, "Mm, this friendship is really not for you anymore." Right? This toxic friendship you've been holding on to, or this habit, or this career isn't you anymore. It's not a fit for who you're now becoming. And the more we do the inner work, the more we change everything about how we see the world. You change your whole lens through which you see everything. Now, that can be a bit unsettling at first because you're like, all right, what do I do now? I no longer resonate with a lot of the things and the people in my life that used to be important to me, right? So it's kind of like a gigantic purging of everything that you used to use to escape or numb. So even your goals are changing. Those huge goals that you set, maybe you're now realizing those were created by your inner critic identity. And you don't care about them the way you used to. You don't care because you're waking up to the idea that the universe has something way more important for you than what your inner critic, your ego, used to cling to. Because whatever future vision that you might have been holding on to, that was created by your past self. So if all you picture in your future is a version of you that's rooted in the past, then you're just perpetuating the same old identity with all the same stories and the same beliefs and the same fears and the same distrust and the same pushing and striving. So you'll keep spinning in trying to figure out who you need to be so you won't be judged or abandoned or unloved or not good enough. Now, here's the shift. The future you're creating only comes from the here and now. And if you learn to unhook yourself from all of the inner critic stories and beliefs from your past self, and you learn to just be here now, you will be able to hear the divine wisdom of your authentic self. And when you live from that voice, that's a fundamentally different life. One woman that just completed one of my programs had spent decades chasing external success, corporate career, high salary, accolades, the whole nine yards. She was so burnt out and disconnected from her joy. So when she did the work of unhooking from her inner critic's lies, and she really sat with her discomfort instead of running away from it, she realized she didn't want that life anymore. And within months, she made a terrifying but aligned decision to pivot into becoming a coach. And she's never felt more free and fulfilled. So, what I've learned in both my own life and in guiding thousands of other people is that as long as we're chasing, we're reinforcing the belief that we're incomplete. We need to be someone different. We need to have something more in order to be whole. Now, here's the truth, and your inner critic won't let you hear this. You're already whole right now. That truth lives in your authentic self, the part of you that is only rooted in right here, right now. That part of you that doesn't need to hustle for love, that isn't trying to avoid pain, that already knows that the only reason you feel that you're not enough or your life isn't enough is because you keep listening to those old inner critic beliefs and stories and mistaking them for the truth. But we're not taught to sit with ourselves. We've been trained to escape, to distract, to numb. Our world is full of ways to avoid ourselves, right? Scrolling on our phones, snacking, watching, overworking. And even our kids are being raised in that environment. So many people can't even sit in silence without reaching for something to fill the space. But what if the silence is exactly where your healing begins? Because here's what I've found. The fear of sitting with ourselves, of feeling our pain, our shame, our unworthiness, it didn't start in our adulthood. It started when we were very, very young. We learned to become who we thought we needed to be in order to be accepted, to be safe, to be loved, and we shoved that down. And that's what created this identity. And you've just been living different versions, different iterations of that identity. But it's just a strategy. It's really a survival mechanism. And it's a mask that you can't see because you've been wearing it for so long. But it's not you. And the scariest moment for most people is when they begin to see that for the first time, when they realize they've built their whole life around an identity that isn't real. That's the moment you're standing at the threshold of your transformation. When you begin to sit with yourself, not to fix or change anything, but just to witness, you begin to discover that space in between who you've been and who you really are. And you begin to hear the whisper of your authentic self. And that's when you begin to shed the need for hustling for your worthiness. And you stop clinging to the goals that don't resonate with you anymore. And you begin to realize that the dreams that you once had were shaped by your inner critic's fear and not your authentic self's truth. And this is the work that creates not just a whole new lens through which you see the world, but it literally redefines the future that you're living into. And yes, it's unsettling because you'll realize that many of the people, the relationships, the habits, they can't come with you into this new version of who you're coming, right? All of that no longer feels like home. But what if that's not a loss? What if that's actually a sacred invitation to become, right? So one of my clients describes this shift perfectly. She said, I realized that I'd spent years trying to fix myself. And once I stopped trying to fix and I started to just be with love and compassion and stillness, I felt peace and freedom for the first time ever. Now, here's the paradox. When you stop needing your life to look a certain way in order to feel okay, the paradox is that life begins to unfold in the most miraculous ways because you no longer need it to, right? You start to trust the unknown. You stop needing certainty. And you realize that the unknown isn't something to fear, it's actually where all the magic happens. So, the most powerful transformation of yourself and your life doesn't come from changing your external world. It comes from finally seeing your inner critic self for what it is, a scared little voice trying to keep you safe and thinking that safety is in the predictable and the known. And when you choose not to let that voice run your life anymore, you're free because your authentic self doesn't live in fear. Your authentic self lives in love. Your authentic self is not trying to be good enough because it knows you already are. So, what if today you stopped asking, what do I need to feel enough? And instead asked, what would it look like to just be enough now? And then when you start embodying the now you're open to receiving the guidance right now to take whatever next step is in alignment with your soul. And you just keep taking those actions from the now, from the now, from the now. And that's how you become the you that you were always meant to be and the life that you were always meant to have before the fear, before the proving, before the chasing. And that's when things begin to happen. That's when the universe meets you, not because you're trying to make things happen, but because you've become the kind of person to whom miracles naturally flow. That's the power of the mind method. That's the power of being with a community of people doing the same deep soul level work. That's what this podcast is about. That's what my book is about. That's what this movement is about. That's what my certification program is about. So today, I want to leave you with this. You do not need to become someone new. You just need to remember who you already are. You are not your fear. You are not your shame. You are love. You are whole. You are free. So if today's episode stirred something inside of you, if you know it's time to start living from your authentic self instead of your inner critic, I want to invite you into something. And this is brand new. I have created a powerful self-paced course called Redesigning Your Future, the Hidden Truth About Transformation. And it's just $47. That's it. And it's packed with high impact video lessons, a transformational workbook that's designed to guide you step by step by step through shifting your relationship with your mind. So in this course, did I mention it's only $47? You'll learn how to free yourself from the grip of your inner critic and begin aligning with the part of you that's already whole and worthy and at peace. That's your authentic self. So, this is the kind of foundational work that really starts to change everything. And you can start right now. So just click the link in the show notes. You can get instant access. You can also go to my website, masteringyourmind.com. Your future doesn't begin someday, it begins the moment you remember who you truly are. And thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll see you at the next episode.